So here's a useful tip about Rangers AIs or just any real technical ship's AI and how it works to help you better farm certain targets. So the way this works is a lot of Rangers and things like that will technically try to get into your ship's no range, or a part of the ship, which is technically usually the backside of a ship, to where they're not being fired upon, but they're doing the maximum amount of damage. I mean, this is something I wish I would have known back when Tier 8 first started, because they changed the way ships had done things and the way that the AI worked, and a lot of people were struggling with it, including me, because you'd get like one fighter or like one Zeus that would get in the back of your dreadnought, and you would just be sitting there tanking all this damage and you wouldn't be able to turn. So then people were having to add other ships to basically cover the blind spot. So the way this works is so ships have now technically been able to, once say a PvE ship gets into range, or this will technically work for PvP as well, because a lot of players do they do auto fights, where like once they get to a certain point in a fight, they'll just let it auto, because they already know, it's so hard to control the ships. So here's one way you can technically help yourself while farming and while fighting. And the way this works is you're technically using the AI to your advantage. And this will work with any ship. And the reason I say that is because I've tried it with different Rangers, fighters, all kinds of things, and it works. So in this situation right here off the bat, you're technically running from these Rangers. And what they're trying to do, because they already know where your ship's no range is, they're trying to strafe out of that firing arc that you have and get into that no range zone of your ship and do max amount of damage to your ship without having to take any damage to the, say, PvE fleet. And you noticed how while I was running from them, they were strafing in that direction. Now, in a sense, how this works, so say if I'm facing this way, and if instead of that fighter being a Ranger, once that Ranger gets into range, what it does once it's able to start firing is it starts strafing, and it strafes technically like in the opposite direction of which way you're going. So if I'm technically going this way, it's going to strafe towards the left and go around the ship, because it's the fastest, easiest route to get to that no range zone. Whereas if I was going like this, it would go to the right to get into that no range zone. And this happens with every ship, technically. Doesn't matter if it's a Ranger, Fighter, Titan, any Tier 7 ship, unless it is a carrier, because a carrier has 360 degrees of firing arc, so that might be why the ships just technically try to chase you down. So if you notice, I'm going to the right, it's turning to the left. So what do? I turn it to the left, goes to the right, and then vice versa. And I kind of messed up there, as you can tell, but once your ship is facing that direction, the AI will automatically go in the opposite direction to take the least the route of least resistance technically to get into that no range zone. So what you can do is, instead of like trying to turn and chase it down, you can turn till, say, you're strafing, or until it's straight with the way that ship is strafing. And what this will do is it will trick the AI into making it think, oh, well, we need to go the other way. And you can technically do this back and forth like this and keep the ship strafing left and right. So that way you're not sitting there fighting all of its negating power, trying to chase it down. As you can see there, that's basically what I just did. It just I took the chasing down part away from the AI and made it harder for the AI to try to negate fire away from my ship, and was technically making them strafe into my fire of my Leviathan. And this will work with Rangers, because I've done it with Rangers. You can use a Ranger and just have it going straight forward and turn it left to the right, and it'll trick other Rangers AIs, or even, as I mentioned, PvP AIs, players that are putting their ships into AI mode in a PvP battle. So you could technically trick it into going right into your firing, and making it die that much faster. Now this won't work with somebody that's that's actually flying their ships, but it will work against any AI. And that's a good trick for any player that needed to figure out anything about AI, or needed a good help to tool on how to farm AI targets.